I don't think they're going to like this one very much, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. Let's see what happens. Hey sis, welcome or welcome back to the channel. I am the Black Woman essayist and the creator of Notes on Black Women on Substack. So listen, this week I got diving into this great book that I came across. It is The Great Cosmic Mother. Hopefully you can see that there. And in the first chapter, there is something interesting that the authors touch on, and it is how there can be a link made clearly between how women's bodies have been harmed and how religion has used this in a way to justify the harm that they're doing. You might think, okay, this doesn't impact me, it's not happening in my part of the world. The thing is, sis, it's happening to black and brown women around the diaspora, so it is something of importance. I'm not going to say too much, okay? Take a listen to this week's essay. Everything is timestamped below, and I will catch you on the other side for my final commentary. Hey sis, in The Great Cosmic Mother, the authors Monica Sojo and Barbara Moore introduce readers to a truth that is rarely spoken about plainly. Violence against women's bodies is often been justified not by biology or medicine, but by theology. In chapter 1, The First Sex, in the beginning we were all created female, the authors hint at the connection between clitoridectomy, patriarchy, and the suppression of female power. What they don't fully explore, understandably, given the scope of their work, is how this practice has been hidden behind religion, male fear, and social control. This 4-part series of essays that I'm doing is my attempt to do that work. So what is clitoridectomy? Clitoridectomy, now widely called female genital mutilation or FGM, is the partial or total removal of a woman or girl's clitoris. The clitoris exists almost entirely for pleasure. Removing this does not improve health, it does not increase fertility, it does not make childbirth any easier. The sole purpose of removal is therefore simple: to reduce or eliminate female sexual pleasure and to remove the chances of a young girl understanding her body, sex, and the pleasure that she can gain from it, not just acting as a baby-making machine. Most importantly, with no health or moral benefits to women, by removing this part of her body, the act of clitoridectomy is male-centered, to reserve the sexual entitlement of pleasure for men only. In other words, we could also say to psychologically redirect women towards motherhood as their only acceptable identity is the aim of this. This alone tells us one truth: FGM or clitoridectomy was never about hygiene or women or anything moral or ethical. It was and still is about power hidden behind religion. The cut, literal or metaphorical. The literal cutting of a girl or woman's body in the name of faith, or the metaphorical cut in quotation marks, which is imposed by shaming females who enjoy sex, and also the Black manosphere's ideas around what the purpose women and girls' bodies are for. These things serve the same purpose: control. In both cases, women's autonomy is removed. In both cases, marriage and religion are used as currency. In both cases, females are taught that their bodies exist primarily for male use and reproduction, not for their own pleasure, intuition, or even freedom. Whether psychological or physical, the cut in quotation marks, we could say, reshapes how women and girls understand themselves. It teaches us that pleasure is dangerous, that desire is something shameful, and that our bodies are not truly ours. Where did it all come from is the next question. Historians trace the earliest documented practices to parts of Africa, particularly Egypt and Northeast Africa, long before Christianity or Islam. Herodotus, who is a very early Greek philosopher and historian, he wrote about the practice in the 5th century BC. Ancient Egyptian records have also referenced it. What these societies had in common was not backwardness, it was patriarchy. Women's sexual autonomy was seen as a threat to inheritance, to male authority, to social hierarchy. Women were treated as the property of fathers, husbands, and communities. Desire in females had to be contained or completely erased. Patriarchy also replaced the goddess. So, as the Great Cosmic Mother, this book argues, patriarchal religions replaced earlier goddess centered spiritual systems. This is something I have referenced in my previous essays, such as What If I Told You God Was a Black Woman? And if you're listening to this on YouTube, that essay may pop up on the right hand side of the screen as I'm speaking now. If you are on Substack, that essay will be linked into this week's essay in the written version. So before this shift, women's bodies were linked to creation, the divine, and sacred power. The body was not separate from the divine, in quotation marks. It actually was the divine. As male-centered religion rose, female power was rebranded as something dangerous. The clitoris then became something suspicious, we could say, by men. Pleasure became sinful and women became something to manage. So clitoridectomy did not emerge from culture alone, it emerged from fear. Fear of women's spiritual authority, fear of women's autonomy, and fear of women who did not want or need any kind of male permission. Religion as justification. Religious texts rarely commend or even encourage clitoridectomy or FGM directly. I would argue they don't at all. There's just no evidence of this from anything that I have found. That said, religion has become its shield for men who feel women's bodies need to be controlled. The evidence of this we see not only in history from how FGM came about, but if we also look to the modern day control of women's rights over their bodies, motherhood, and all this kind of stuff that has been taking place under the current President Trump's administration at the time of me writing this, we see how religion has been used as justification to control women, even in the modern day context. Across patriarchal traditions, the same messages appear. Female sexuality is dangerous. Male sexuality is entitled. Women exist to reproduce. Women must sacrifice. This is not accidental. We could say it's almost strategic. Women were moved from sacred beings to sinful things in a blink of an eye, with religion as the justification. We were moved from creators to containers to create children only. We were moved from something divine to women who must be more disciplined. Modern day expressions of this same logic that we have seen is today the ideology behind the cut as we know it, or FGM, appears in things like purity culture that is encouraged in the modern day society, slut shaming of women in modern day society, and even things like excusing rape that happens within marriage because the woman and the man are connected via marriage. You owe him sex narratives that we have. If a man takes you on a date, this is often something that women are pressured into feeling. And also we have generally silencing women's desire to be free. What we see here are different tools, but the same purpose and the same aim. Control of women via their bodies behind the illusion of religion. The impact on Black women especially. So for Black women, this conversation can be quite personal because FGM still exists in parts of Africa and the Middle East. Even where the practice is rarely happening, possibly where you and I reside, in other parts of the Western world, the message of sexual control still remains. Through slavery, colonialism, and religious discipline, our bodies were, historically speaking, always violated, exploited, reproduced for profit, and stripped of any kind of autonomy. We were hypersexualized, and we could even say this still happens today, but we were also policed at the same time. We were desired and also despised by all men. This contradiction still lives today in religious spaces where Black women are expected to endure silently and not speak out or say anything in the name of God, in quotation marks. I have made reference to this in previous essays, such as how Ephesians 22 to 24 is used to oppress women. And if you are on YouTube, again, that essay may pop up somewhere on the right hand side as I'm speaking. If you are listening in or reading this on Substack, that essay will be linked directly in the written version. So, reclaiming the sacred body. One of the most radical ideas in this book, The Great Cosmic Mother, is this. Women's bodies were once understood as something holy. They were not shameful, they were not dangerous. They did not need discipline. For Black women who are statistically more likely to be religious due to what I call cultural inheritance from slavery, this is quite revolutionary. Liberation from this as Black women means quite a few things. Firstly, we must question certain things. 1, we need to question the teachings that frame desire in women as some kind of sin. We need to question the theologies that glorify our suffering and our sacrifices in the name of God or husbands or religion. And we need to question cultures or practices within the community that will praise our suffering and endurance, but at the same time completely deny any kind of joy for us. It means understanding that control becomes easy when women are taught to distrust their bodies or dislike them in some way. When we are taught as women not to respect, love, or value our bodies in favor of men and what they want in the name of religion, this is how control can happen. Reconnection to pleasure, to our bodies, to our own state of being is actually a form of resistance for us as Black women and women in general. Autonomy is also a form of resistance. Self-definition as a collective of women is also a form of our own resistance. This is the truth about the cut. As a woman connecting with this essay today, I want you to hold on to this truth. Clitoridectomy, or FGM, exists because women's pleasure threatens patriarchal systems, just like women's rights also threatens that same system. Religion was used to make that threat sound holy, in quotation marks. The cut was never about God. It was never about religion. It was about fear. And now that we see this, and now that we are waking up to this, and now that as women we actually understand this and we can see how our bodies have been used as part of this male fear, we must resist, especially across the Black diaspora. No matter whether it is happening where you live or not, we need to resist. Mentally, spiritually, culturally, politically, this is where our liberation truly begins. And for Black women, even if we don't live in a part of the world where this is something that happens or it's a practice within our local communities, we must be aware of it, we must speak out about it, and we must resist it, even if it's not happening on our own doorstep. This is the first part as an introduction to this mini-series that I'm doing here. If you enjoy essays and content and research like this and you're on YouTube, I would invite you to consider subscribing, give the video a like, drop me a comment, let me know, do you live in a part of the world that actually does practice FGM or clitoridectomy on women, and what's your general thoughts on this? How do you feel about religion and its links to the control of women? Hey sis, thanks for staying with me if you made it this far. So as you can see, this book and the first couple of chapters does bring up quite a few things for Black and brown women. And what I want to say at this point is that reading this sparked quite a few essays, sparked quite a few thoughts for me about what's happening to women. And I don't want anyone to think who may have been following along with my Black women or women in the Bible series that I'm attacking religion, because it's really not that. Although I am not a religious woman, and if you have listened to any of my previous essays, one might pop up here or even here, you will clearly understand why. I am not taking an attack stance. I'm taking a stance to open women's minds so they can really think about the impact that religion has had on women historically and still in the present day. Because I would say religion has a very tight hold on black women, especially. And a lot of this influences or impacts how we move, how we think, how we feel, and the things that we do and don't do, how much service we give, and all kinds of things. There is so much to it. So it's not an attack on religion, it's about opening your mindset to what could actually be impacting you. But that said, you know, it is important for us to recognise what's going on around the diaspora, even if it's not directly impacting us and our bodies. It is important to know. So that is part one. Part two should pop up here somewhere, because I did continue with what I found from reading this book or reading that particular chapter and other chapters that are relevant to it. And if you do like this kind of content, then why not come and join me over on Substack, where I write daily notes for black women about all different topics. Have a lot of fun over there. So come and join me. There will be a link in the description box. Come along to the Black Women's Circle as well, which we have on Zoom last Sunday of every month. There will be a description. There will be a link in the description box for that also. And subscribe to the channel if this is your thing, if you like video content, which is essay-like, if you like subjects that dive deeply into black women and our lives and our lived experiences and history and basically anything that is related to us as women from a very honest, truthful, and I would say unapologetic point of view, mind you. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. I'm here to be very real about what impacts us. Then why not join me here on the channel? So I will love you and leave you for this week. I will catch you in the next one. Much love to you. I'll see you soon.